Welcome to Under the Lens. Come and enjoy an extraordinary, raw, and unfiltered podcast that delivers debate, discussions, and interviews about film, pop culture, and everything in between. Here is your host, film critic and journalist, Byron Lafayette.
So, to kind of get started with like our conversation and stuff, like, what's some of you guys' like backgrounds and like where do you guys come from in the industry and with comics and stuff and such?
Well, I'm a screenwriter, independent screenwriter and director. I came from Loyola Marymount University was the college. I went to here. Everything's very close, right? Because I'm East LA. So I was very LA. Still am in LA. But yeah, writer, director. I pivoted to comics recently because of my screenplays and same thing. Like it all works. Right? Comic industry and film industry is kind of immersed regardless. So I've been having a really good time in both of these worlds.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I came out of the music industry first and then started, I was at different record companies as a music executive and as a manager. And then I started producing features. And about 3 years ago, we have a company, we call it an IP company. We decided to take some of the stuff we were developing and turn it into graphic novels and comic books. So it's kind of a newer field for me personally. And I think, we wanted to take some of this like these giant worlds that we were imagining, and we were like, best way to start telling these stories, we think, is through comic books and graphic novels and such. We thought it lent itself to that space. So we just kind of jumped in with no experience.
Sometimes that's the best way though, because it brings a fresh perspective, and sometimes, if you're into something for too long, I don't know, you can get like set in your ways, so coming in fresh, I think can be very advantageous.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. What was it like coming from like the music industry kind of into like comics and film? Was that a difficult transition or was it relatively easy?
Well, it's funny because I got a call from the director of Saw 234, Darren, and he was doing a horror musical. And I had consulted on this other musical for Lionsgate called Repo, the Genetic Opera.
I remember that one.
Yeah. And I really didn't seek out the movie industry. Like, it wasn't something I was chasing. I stumbled into it and I consulted on that musical. And then I found myself in all these meetings with like some Lionsgate executives and producers. And I was like, this is interesting. And Darren asked me to produce a musical feature, and I didn't have any idea how, or, but to answer your question, because it was a musical, I was able to bring a lot of my resources from the music business into the film. A lot of the talent, and I was able to cut deals with Hot Topic. I negotiated our deal with Netflix because I felt like I kind of understood the basics of it, but it was interesting transition because I couldn't have prepped myself for it. I just jumped in the frying pan and had to learn it.
That's cool. Oh, man. So guys, tell me about this new project you guys have working. It's when I was looking over the press release, it looks really exciting, so I can't wait to hear about it.
Cool. Well, thank you. Well, I say it's a vampire. It's a new version of a vampire Chicana / Latina gang in this whole new world, Blood World City, and there's a big turf battle. And so it's our Latina vampire gang in a turf battle, and they're protecting their own neighborhood, as well as like redeeming themselves and like honoring their family and their traditions at the same time. So yeah.
That sounds awesome. And it's a this is a spin-off, correct, of like a previous feature that you guys had worked on?
Yeah, we had 2 books out originally,
Mhm.
and this was inside of that world, yes. And we really love Lipstick Cliqa a lot, and it means a lot to us,
Mhm.
that particular gang inside the world. So we were really excited to bring it to life,
Mhm.
you know, as a standalone story.
Mhm.
And you know, and Kayden hit it out of the park for us,
Mhm.
and you know, it was an amazing collaboration with her. So we're really pleased with
Mhm.
where it's landed.
Mhm. How did you go about like creating some of your characters? Like, was there inspirations for it, or what was your process for that?
For me, the characters are already established. And so, like he was saying, like there was Night of the Cadillacs, and
Mhm.
then, like you said, spin-off, but these are the origin stories. So, like, these are the
Mhm.
prequels
Okay.
to where they are there in Night of the Cadillacs. And so the characters are mainly characters are established already. There's Marissa, which is our lead character. She lives with her grandma. She has a little kid sister she's trying to take care of. But in reality, the grandma takes care of everyone, right? And nobody else does that. So it's very cute. Like it has a lot of heart, even though like vampire, cholas, gang, like all that extra things. But there's always underlying like heartbeat, of course, because that's very like Chicana. So there's Marissa. Then she has 2 best friends. There's Daya, which is our indigenous character. She's really built. She's our protector, but she's like she's the most sensitive out of all of them, but she does very much protect everybody at all times. And then we have Little Snap, which is our trans Latina character, and she's the playful one. She's the fun one. Always going on adventure, always the first to like pick a fight for no reason, right? Like just really fun, like same thing. So they bounce off each other really nicely. But same thing, those are all established. I helped. I don't want to say elevate. I helped bring them a little bit more to life.
Mhm.
But Sean already made all those characters, so I just weaved a little bit more backstory into them.
Very cool. And what's the setting like for Blood World City? Like, what's the world that people are going to be diving into when they pick up the comic book?
So I like to see it more like Vegas. I don't really know what the answer is, but I like to see it more like Vegas. Like you have the strip, right? And that's all like the fun and the gambling and all like the crazy, very macabre and everything bad that happened. It's the underworld area, right? And then on the side, like not even the suburbs, but just like off a Skid Row area, like there's the Boyles, which is their neighborhood, which is Lipstick Cliqua's neighborhood, right? Because they're not necessarily incorporated yet as a gang, right? They're just trying to live there and survive. And so there's little like outskirts of where all the gangs live, but there's in the middle same thing. It's just the buildings and all the debauchery and everything else that's going on is really the main place of the world.
Mhm.
Did I get that right, Sean?
Fantastic.
Okay.
uh, uh, and do you think like at this point, like, this type of story is very important to tell, because it seems like a lot of the themes and the characters and the diversity is very, very important, because it seems like it's very important to people right now. And so can you expand a little bit more on its inclusion in the story and like the role it plays?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely important. I mean, like female, Latina, like lower socioeconomic, level. It's just like we've never seen these stories, which is quite unfortunate. It's like, why? It's really one of those things. It's like, why do I have to see like the white male gaze? I don't know. Like I grew up with it, of course, but like, why do we have to continue those stories? They're not new. We've seen it, but what if we've seen it from this angle, right? And same thing with the characters, right? Like we get to live it through the characters, but me as a writer, I haven't had my voice heard,
Mhm.
right? Because it's all the stuff that I've learned within my community, within all my friends and my chola gangs and like all that stuff. So I'm grateful that I get to bring it to life. That Sean, found me, and like we can bring it to life together, because they say representation matters, right? But it's also, if you can see, you can believe it. And it's not like we're all trying to be vampires, but we all do want to, unless some people do, but like we do want to be represented and be like, you do exist. Let me acknowledge you at least.
No, I think that's very true, you know, with representation mattering, you know, because I think, you know, when I've seen like different stories online, you know, people that sometimes they'll be like, oh, I didn't realize how important it was until I saw myself in a character, you know. I had almost like my own little bit of a moment like that because I'm dyslexic. And then like I was watching Star Trek Discovery, and I was like, when they made Spock dyslexic, and I was like, oh wow, this is kind of cool. I didn't really realize I wanted to see this until I saw it. And then I was like, I like this, you know.
Absolutely, it validates us, and like it's sad, like because media just plays a big part, you know, globally, you know, and it's just like I grew up like with everyone thinking I'm a chola because I'm from East LA, and I'm like the furthest from a chola if you look at me, right? But because I'm East LA and I'm Boyle Heights, I'm really hardcore, and I'm really not, you know. And it's the same as why, because that's what people see in film and TV. They think I'm really, you know, harsh, and like I don't think I am. Sean thinks I am, but I'm not. I'm kidding. But
Oh, man, that's very cool, you know. And I hear there's a movie in the works for it already. So is there anything you can tell me about that, or is that still kind of a little hush hush?
No, we're you know, we create stuff to shoot it. You know, we want it to live in a big way. And we love this medium of print, but you know, we are always aiming for the sun, you know, and we have been fortunate enough to get a lot of stuff made, and yeah, we're in early talks with people now, and we intend on shooting this sooner than later. I know I'm being vague. I just I'm just gonna stay vague for a minute on it, but yeah, we absolutely are intend on making Lipstick Cliqa the feature.
That's very cool. You know, just when I was, you know, looking over and reading over the storyline and stuff in the press release, I thought to myself, you know, this would make a great movie. You know, I could already kind of see it forming in my head a little bit. So, you know, that's cool that you're creating projects with, you know, with the screen in mind. I think that's kind of cool, and it makes sense with graphic novels too, because you know they're basically movies on pages.
Yeah, they are. They are. And wow, did we not realize how hard they were to make these things, to put them on these pages? Is like it's so much work. You know, it's very meticulous. It's really we've been doing it for a minute now, and it's really a lot of work.
I would imagine. You know, do you guys have an artist on board yet for this project?
Yeah. We recently, one of our partners and I, we're pretty global, and we don't sit still. We don't sit around the same town too long. We like to get around the globe, and we spend a lot of time in Southeast Asia during the Christmas, like December, January. And we interviewed a lot of penciled inks, colorists, kind of streetwear artists as well, because we like a lot of that stuff. And we found an artist named Gershon. He's Filipino. I always mess up his last name, but it's Vill Villamor. I'm probably saying it like improperly. And he came by the place I was staying and brought his materials, and we sat down and talked for a while, and he started showing me some of his stuff, and I was just in love with it. And then as far as covers go, we're collaborating with some of Kayden's ideas in her network. She has some really cool artists that she works with that we like, and trying to juggle everyone's schedule. And Gershon's kind of running point for now, and but we'll probably add in some different variant artists and stuff for the different covers, and that's ongoing.
That's awesome. Oh, now I know that the series is going to be 3 parts or 3 volumes. Are there any plans to possibly continue it on past that, or is this going to be a bookended story? Without obviously your answer probably can't give away too much of the ending. So,
well, do you want to Kayden, do you want to kind of describe how do we do it without giving anything away?
So it does have a clear beginning, middle, and end within the 3 issues,
Mm-hmm.
but it is open as well because it is an origin story. So it is open to actual continue if they choose to, or if we choose to.
Very cool. So, can you talk a little bit about Ex Posse Holdings? Because that sounded really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the word posse is silly, and we don't take ourselves too seriously, so it's just such a kind of a goofy word to us, and it's a group of managers and music and film people. There's about 5 or 6 of us, and some come from toys, some come from just music, some are concert promoters, and it's a group of buddies, and that all come from different entertainment backgrounds, and we kind of just got together, and it was just a couple of us, and then it kind of grew a little more, and now it's interesting to look at our email threads now with, we got this team of people that are involved. It's very DIY. Like, it sounds like a big, giant, like heavy weighted, company. It's very punk rock. It's a bunch of scrappy punk rock minded people that all kind of contribute in their own way. Some is skill sets, and then some is like, hey, we need some resources to do these things over here. And it's a funny group of like entertainment guys that don't really want to be out in front. Most of us, we kind of like to just kind of lay in the back and let the real talent, like let people like Kayden, run in the spotlight. But yeah, it's music and film guys that are just doing this because we thought it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't business minded at all. We just thought it'd be fun to do it. Everyone, I think, to be in our circle, you just have to have a sense of humor, and we screw around a lot. Like, we definitely don't take ourselves too seriously, any of us, and everyone's got a one-liner flying every minute of the day. And if you look at our ads in the books and stuff, it's just like, we screw around a lot, and if you really look at some of our ads or fake advertisements and stuff in there, we just do it because we think it's funny. That's really it.
That's always fun. I always like when that kind of like meta stuff is within like books or movies. Also reminds me a bit of Robert Rodriguez with the fake trailers, in his movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then they're normally so good that people want him to actually make them into movies. So
yeah.
So do you guys have any like comic inspirations that got you into comics, or that that you draw inspiration from when you're creating them?
I wouldn't say necessarily for creating. I don't come from comic world at all. I didn't grow up reading them. I had to delve into them because I pivoted from like screenwriting to comics, like I was saying. So I did research, obviously I enjoyed it, but I did research for that purpose. And like on YouTube, you write like the top 10 comics or graphic novels all the time. And like all of them, whichever ones you see, the answer is Alan Moore. It's really, at the end of the day, right? It's just like Killing Joke, Vendetta, Watchmen. And so I got all of those, or all the ones on the list. And it's really true because he gives a different angle. I would say he's very, very dark skewed and twisted, which is fine. But like he gives a different angle that we just don't see because we're very like American and happy-go-lucky, right? Like, like our Superman is like literally, Captain America, right? They're the same people that are patriotic. We're going to save the United States no matter what. And he doesn't. He's just like, okay, let me kill you guys like Batgirl. Let me make her paraplegic. And it's just like, it's the worst thing in the world. But like, I remember it because of that. And so I don't necessarily draw inspiration from it because I'm not here to kill female or like ruin female characters. But I do see what he's doing as a writer. And for that, I do appreciate.
Yeah, I remember a family member asked me to describe like Watchmen to them, and I was like trying to, and they're like, "That sounds horrible." And I was like, "Well, you have to read it to understand." I was like, "It's actually really good," but
yeah, it's smart though because it's something that's twisted. It's just who watches the Watchmen, right? And it's literally the same thing. It's the new iteration is the boys. It's like who watches the boys, and it's like nobody. It's just the corporate version of it now. And I think it's just so smart. And it's just an easy little twist on it.
Well, do you have any comics that you draw inspiration from or have been inspired by, or that are just favorites?
I don't. You know, when I was a little kid, like we'd go down to the the AMPM or whatever, the Quickie Mart, and they would have them on racks, like Avengers and stuff. I liked groups. I didn't like I liked when a team of people were working together. I thought that was cool. That was interesting to me. So I would collect different ones. It's funny because I guess my mom saved my comic books when I was little. They're in a box somewhere, and I'm interested to. I wasn't like a super comic aficionado like some of my friends, so I would be I'd be lying to say I can't sit down and chop up like deep dive comic story. I don't have the background in it. But I do have a lot of those old books saved somewhere in a box, and I do want to like pull those out. I think what spoke to me was like a team of people getting together that all were really good at something. And I thought that to have 4 or 5 people that were like badass at something particular to group up and is almost like a band. It's kind of like Kayden and I were looking at super old Kiss album covers recently, and some of them were just so like big, just like they're such larger than life covers from like the way back in the 70s and stuff. We were just looking at some recently, and it's like that type of stuff really jumped out at me when I would, because some of those album covers to me, there was like these 4 characters, larger than life, and you're like, wow. And I think I was drawn to the comic books that had that kind of effect on me, just this big thing. But is there one particular or something that I follow? No, there isn't. There really isn't, to be honest.
So since we were talking about, like vampires, vampire stories, do you guys have a favorite vampire movie that you enjoy?
Well, there's Interview with the Vampire, of course, because I am a millennial. Underworld, right? Because I mean, those are more charactery, of course, and so like that works. So I appreciate that, variation, complete opposite of an Interview with the Vampire. So those 2 are for sure for me.
I like Lost Boys.
Oh yeah,
it's a classic.
That's the one for me. Yeah, I think that's the one.
Well, with this project that you guys are working on and releasing, is there something that you hope readers walk away with after they're finished reading it?
Well, first and foremost, it's a story, so I hope that they're entertained. That's always the number one thing, right? Because if you're not entertained, then why are you reading it? Why are you watching it? So I do hope that they get a good story out of it. And also that they're excited about it, about learning like of who Lipstick Cliqa was and their arc, because it is an origin story. And so hopefully they're, entranced with it, that they want to continue reading the other stories, with other origin teams, of the other gangs, and continue with that.
You want people to enjoy it, go on the ride, and you hope that when they're done, they had fun with it, and that they got something from it.
Very cool. And is there an approximate date of when it's going to be released, or when people are going to be able to pick it up?
It moves around a little, but we're aiming for June.
And lastly, where can people go to find your guys' work or to follow what you guys are up to?
So my Instagram, I have a million, but I'll give you 2 Instagrams is Latina Superheroes, plural, and then my personal one is Kayden Phoenix.
I mean, I have a small Instagram that kind of lets people know what I'm up to, but I don't like, we've deliberately kept our socials and all of our website stuff down until we had a few of these things out. We more looked at it like protecting the IP, so until it was properly ready to be shared. We didn't want to like have it out there growing slowly. We wanted to kind of like jump out with it. So honestly, that stuff's going to start probably in a few months.
Oh, very cool. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to chat with me. I think it's a very exciting project. I definitely am going to pick it up day one when it's out. So, you know, as I said, thanks Ian for coming on, and you guys are always welcome onto my show, you know, to promote any new projects you have. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so
Great.
much.